Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today is a slightly different video and quite an exciting one. You will actually be seeing this just after we get married, so I am actually married at this point, but I did want to go through all of the venues we've looked at. You won't have seen our wedding video at this point, so you won't know what we actually chose, so I'll be really interested to see which we think we ended up going for. We viewed 9 venues in total before we found our perfect venue for us. I'm going to chat through 8 of them because the 9th we kind of viewed very like sporadically, in a sense of like I was there for an event separately, so it wasn't an official like wedding viewing. We were just thinking about it and considering it as an option for us. But I'm going to talk through 8 wedding venues with you. These are both on the Wirral and in Liverpool. So a brief overview of all of the venues we looked at, and then I will go through them. We looked at the Mansion House in Calderstones Park. We looked at Thornton Hall on the Wirral. We looked at the Titanic Hotel down by the docks in Liverpool. We looked at the Hillbark Hotel and Spa on the Wirral near Royden Park, if you know it. We looked at the Isla Gladstone Conservatory, which is quite close to Everton Park in Liverpool. We looked at Inglewood Manor, which is, I think it's technically still on the Wirral. It's in Cheshire. It's along the Top Chester High Road, as if you're going to Chester from like Heswell area. It's just off one of those main roads. We looked at that. We also looked at Sefton Park Palmhouse, which is in Sefton Park, unsurprisingly. And then we also looked at one in Chester called Pryors Golf Club. So they are the 8 that we're going to talk through. This is in no particular order. I'd be really interested to see which you think we actually ended up going for. You may have seen wedding pictures at this point over on my Instagram, but if you haven't, don't go and look. I want you to figure out if you can see, because I will include some clips that I took from the venues that we did go and see. Some I don't have very many pictures at all, others I have loads of pictures and videos of different things. But if I don't have a picture that I've taken, I will share what they've got online, just so you can get a bit of a feel of each of the places. But yeah, let's get going. So let's start with the Mansion House at Calderstones Park. Calderstones Park is in Liverpool, it's in Allerton, very close to Liverpool Hope University, which is where I went for my degree. I will also briefly talk through the prices and quotes that people gave us, because I think it will be useful in advance. Obviously we were doing our wedding searching in 2022 for a 2023 wedding, so these are the quotes for this. They probably change year on year, so this will just give you a bit of a ballpark idea of how much we spent, the different prices of different venues, and like the size of the venues that they hold as well. So the Mansion House at Calderstones Park, upfront venue costs just for the hire, not including food or drink or anything like that, was £2,000, and the venue itself could seat up to about 100 people, but this was at a push during the day, and then the tables could be taken away and we would have access to the other parts of the house in the evening, because it would be open to the public during the day. It would seat about 100 people at a push. The pros of this location were that it was a lovely bright space. There were massive windows along one side. There was lots of enclosed outdoor space, which was lovely. There were fairy lights hanging up everywhere. There were blossom trees in the garden, which is what, like, I love a blossom tree. It's part of the reason we get married in April. Blossom trees and tulips. You'll hear me talk about it loads, especially if you watch any of the like other wedding videos. It was also a beautiful venue, and because it was in Calderstones Park, it's a beautiful park. There would be lovely places for photographs, like photography shoot of Stephen and I when we actually get married. There was a really good selection of food from in-house caterers that wasn't too expensive either. I don't have the official like this is how much everything was from them based on what we were sent, but decent enough price. It was perfect for more smaller, more intimate weddings. The money from the venue hire also goes towards the charity, which is called the Reader, who are based in Calderstones Mansion House as like their base. They do a lot of work with the local community in Liverpool, and we really liked the fact that the money would go to them rather than to like a corporation. and there was also free car parking nearby. There were quite a few car parks in Calderstones Park, and it's really close to like housing estates as well if people need to park a little bit further away and walk. So they were our pros. And the cons for the mansion house was that actually there wasn't that much indoor space if it was wet, as a lot of the indoor space was being used by the public during the day, and these rooms would only be available in the evening because there's a cafe space which is lovely, and an extra outdoor space there. But we thought that there'd be a lot of like rooms that we could find people in rather than everyone being in the one same spot, so you kind of run the risk of maybe like losing some of your guests. We kind of wanted everyone to be in the same spot, and also like the original date that we wanted wasn't available for this location either. It doesn't mean we didn't go for it, but yeah, the Saturday we wanted originally wasn't available. Okay, so the second location we looked at was Thornton Hall. We went here for a wedding open day, so again we didn't do a guided tour of this place. I know it's like 5 minutes from my house, so I've been quite a lot for other people's weddings, and I used to get my hair cut there, and there's a spa there and things like that, so I know the venue quite well as it is. So the pros, it's really close to home. As I say, it's about 5 minutes away. And also our church is only about 5 minutes away from here, so again it's super close. There was also hotel rooms on site, which was a massive pull for us, because we do have friends and family coming from Northern Ireland and the Isle of Man and further across the country and Essex, and like we have family flying in from Europe as well, so we wanted there to be somewhere that people could stay locally, and obviously if it's on site that's even better. So that was a big pull for us towards Thornton Hall. However, the actual style of the hall that we would have needed for the amount of people that we're having is it's very big and it's quite blingy. Lots of like diamantes and like brasses and really like expensive looking, which is lovely, but it wasn't quite what we were going for. There was also the bigger space, so there was a slightly smaller space that was very bright, airy, but very long, and then there was the second room, the bigger room, that was perfect for the amount of people that we want, but it wasn't very bright, there weren't many windows, and so there was a lot of artificial lighting, which I know some people might like, but I love being in a place with lots of natural bright light, and so that was a big push. But also the gardens were beautiful. There was a pagoda outside, we could have had our wedding ceremony out there. Yeah, so they were the pushes and pull factors for our Thornton Hall hotel. Next we viewed the Titanic Hotel in Liverpool. This is down on the docks. We have been to their spa, we love their hotel, we've looked at staying in it multiple times. So they have two particular wedding venues. There is one called the Rum Warehouse and there is one called West Bay. The Rum Warehouse, you needed to kind of qualify for this room, you needed a minimum spend to include 100 guests for the wedding breakfast and 180 for the evening buffet. This would have cost £14,180. And then for the West Bay, which is the slightly smaller room, the Rum Warehouse was quite industrial looking. The West Bay was a bit more rustic looking, bigger windows that you can kind of see out of. For this you needed to have 80 guests for a wedding breakfast and 120 guests for the evening buffet, and that would have cost £10,300. I can't say that. £10,320. However, when we were there, we were given an offer, so it was £10,000 all inclusive in the Rum Warehouse, so the bigger venue. If you had 100 day guests and 180 evening guests, obviously including, everyone got a half glass of Prosecco on arrival, there was a bottle of wine per person on a table, 3-course meal. I'm not sure what else was included in that. which was a really, really good price. If you don't know much about weddings, weddings are expensive, and it just tots up. So when it's an all-inclusive package and it's for £10,000, actually it's a really, really good price. So we considered it, we seriously considered it, and we kind of wanted the smaller, the West Bay room, because we weren't going to have 180 evening guests. We couldn't have filled that quota, but the West Bay room wasn't available for our date. So we were really considering the Rum Warehouse. We emailed the Titanic Hotel to say, yeah, we'd like to have more conversations with you about this. And they never got back to us, which obviously isn't great. I don't quite know why. I don't think there was like a reason that they could give. They just point blank never responded to an email. And so it's kind of obvious that we haven't gone for that one. Customer service is a massive part of wedding planning, because like you want to get along with the person that you're dealing with at your venue. It just makes your life so much easier. We're really lucky that the people we've ended up with are so easy to chat to, contactable at basically any time. We'll get back super quickly and just have our best interests at heart. But not to put a damper on the Titanic, but we just didn't get that. It felt a bit cold maybe, and yeah, just like, it's their loss, isn't it? We were hoping to maybe book with them, but they never got back to us, so that didn't end up happening. But yeah, I just wanted to make a point of that, because, you know, I'd prefer to be honest. I'm not affiliated to any of these places. I can say what our experience was, and you do get a vibe for a place when you go and see it, which is why I'd always recommend any bride and groom going and seeing a venue before you actually book it, because you just don't know what the vibe of the place is going to be like, or even what the vibe of the staff are going to be like. They will be there on your wedding day, so you kind of want to be able to get on with them as well. Anyway, moving on to the Hillbark Hotel and Spa in Royden Park. This is a beautiful venue. It is absolutely stunning. Stephen loved it. Beautiful grounds, lovely drive-in. Got a spa downstairs. There was bedrooms on site. We could kind of make a bit more of a weekend of it. This is where I had my my upper 6th prom. It was a lovely venue. Like a great hall. Had massive windows looking out. We got a quote for this, and let me break this down for you. A daytime guest per person was £145. On top of that was the room hire, which would have cost us £8,000, and to have an additional evening guest would have been £20.50. Within that, there was not one bedroom included. They're beautiful. You will see the clips on the screen of some of the rooms that we looked at. They're absolutely stunning. Bridal suite was beautiful, that's probably what you can see. But the overall quote of the cost that we were given for the venue hire, 95 daytime guests and 160 evening guests, was £25,000 and £25,000 there or thereabouts, which is incredibly expensive. To put it into perspective, the Mansion House Calderstones Park would have probably cost us £8,000. The Thornton Hall may have cost us about 12. Titanic, as I said, was about 10,000. This was 2.5 times that. Beautiful location, but incredibly expensive. And as I say, it didn't include a single bedroom. The bedrooms on site, they were there, but they cost anywhere between like £350 and £550 a night, which is very expensive. And if we're asking people to travel already to come to our wedding, ideally we don't want them to have to spend £1,000 to just stay there, because weddings are expensive, and we did want to take that into consideration for our guests as well. But yeah, it was a beautiful location, and I'd been there before. Loads of like really pretty photo spots. But for the price, we just didn't consider it to be worth it. So moving on to the Isla Gladstone Conservatory. This was one of our top 3. After the Titanic Hotel, we went and viewed this in early May, I think it was, and it was a beautiful, lovely day. Not a cloud in the sky. Because of the conservatory style of it, you can see it's super, super bright. But it's also used by Liverpool Football Club. So let me break down the prices of everything that they gave us, and let me tell you what our issues were after that. So venue hire up front was £4,000. Food per head was £37.50, which is a really, really good price. Drinks per head were £9.50. Tea and coffee per head were £10, which is quite expensive for tea and coffee. I don't know many people who drink £10 worth of tea a day. And the evening buffet was £13.50 per person. So we just worked that out based on how many numbers we were having or expected to have at that point. And it worked out £11,000 there or thereabouts. As I said, this was a lovely bright space. It was enclosed, so everything was in one space, and if it was rainy outside, it was a big enough space to hold everyone inside in comparison to some of the places that we'd viewed that just wouldn't fit everyone inside. But with it being a conservatory, we thought if it does rain, you probably won't be able to have much of a conversation because of the sound of the rain on the glass roof. It was just something we were thinking about. April is very temperamental, and yeah, we wanted to take that into account. And also, we did think about booking this place. However, because it is used for Liverpool Football Club, they couldn't tell us at that time if we were able to have the space, because if there is a football match, they have dinner for, I think it's like the team and their associates or something, before the actual game during the afternoon, and they take priority over weddings. So we weren't able to book when we wanted to back in May. Doesn't mean we didn't, but that was something we had to take into consideration. We wouldn't have found out the football fixtures until I think it was the end of June, and this was about the start of May, so about a month and a half. And because we got engaged last April, we're getting married this April, we kind of wanted to get things moving, but at this point this was looking like our best option because, as I say, Titanic still hadn't got back to us. But yeah, that's where we were at that time. Then moving on to Inglewood Manor House. Beautiful, beautiful location. I actually don't have many pictures of this. I just have some pictures of the beautiful gardens. They were stunning. As you can see, this like beautiful archway with all these beautiful blooming flowers. Lovely big garden space. However, on the inside there wasn't one particular large space to hold people. There was a dining room area, but it kind of was like spread through rooms with like open doors. So if you were to have your top table somewhere, there would always be people that couldn't really see, and we just didn't think that was practical. They also asked us to fill a quota of filling 12 bedrooms, which probably would have been possible, but they charged between £100 and £250 a night for them. And again, we were thinking about bringing people over. Do we want them to have to pay to stay in one of these rooms when they could stay in the Premier and down the road for half of that price? We did want to take that into consideration as well. This was again a bit more of an expensive venue. If I remember correctly, the quote was about £16,000, working on about 100 day guests, about 160 evening guests, food and drink included in that obviously, but that's there or thereabouts where we were working, which was hard because we liked it, but we also didn't want to put other people in that position that they had to pay something really expensive just to come to the wedding. Yeah, so that's another one that we viewed. Penultimately, we have Sefton Park Palm House, which again is a beautiful location, loads of flowers and trees on the inside, bright, got the big glass roof, so you can see the sun and you can hear the rain. It was a lovely, lovely space. The only problem we found with it was that the actual ceremony space and where you could have people to eat was quite small. Because of the nature of the like circular palm house, there would be people kind of like sat around this crescent, and they wouldn't be able to see the people over here, and we wouldn't be able to see them, and logistically it was just a bit of a nightmare. It was a lovely location, and you can see in this picture that the sun beaming through was just stunning, but there were just some things that didn't quite work for us, but we do love it. It was probably number 4 on the list after the Isla, Gladstone and the Titanic, but yeah, it was a possibility. I can't remember exactly how much the quote was. I don't remember it being super expensive. I'd probably guesstimate between £10,000 and £12,000, which is obviously a lot of money, but in comparison to like £25,000 it's not as much. But yeah, this was about the budget we were looking for. We had set a budget going in, which I will talk about in another video. I'm going to do a whole breakdown of everything we budgeted and spent for the wedding, just because I find them interesting, and yeah, just so you have a bit more of an idea if you are coming up to that stage of life where you are planning a wedding. And then finally, this was a venue that I had seen before we even got engaged and fell in love with, but we decided it was too far away from our church. It's about 35 minutes, which a few of the other venues still were, but we kind of written it off. And we got to this point and gone, I can't decide. There's just something wrong with all of them. We didn't love this, or we didn't love that, or we, yeah, just weren't happy with this or that or whatever it may be. So we went and visited it, and we loved it. We visited this place. It's called Pryors Golf Club. It is just north of Chester in a location called Tarpley, in between Tarpley and Tarvin. And we went and viewed this. It is a purpose-built barn with an extra space by the bar. It's one big room. It's rustic. It's got windows down one side. It's lovely and bright. Fairy lights and like filament lamps from the ceiling. It's got a beautiful garden outside. We walked in and felt seen and listened to and championed by the people that worked there, and no shock, we booked on the day. If you've watched this video, I feel like you can know that by now. Yeah, we walked in and the lady we spoke to was absolutely lovely. She told us, she was honest with us and upfront. She was like, I'm not gonna lie, someone else has also reserved this date. If you want it, you have to book it today. So we did. We put a deposit down. For reference, if you do want to know, per head this costs, as a day guest, £50 a head. Drinks are about £5 a head, there or thereabouts, and an evening guest is £10 a head, which is really reasonable. That includes like starter, main and dessert. The catering for like photographer, videographers is also reduced, because they obviously don't need the full 3-course meal, but they are obviously being fed, so that was a really good bonus for us. The lady who we are kind of interacting with, has thrown in the extra like lounge space complimentary for us. That would have cost an extra £250. We've got access to the garden. We have full access to everything around there. The golf club will still be in use during the day, but they have a completely separate entrance, and yeah, it is beautiful. I love it. You may have seen a couple of sneak peeks in our weekly vlogs. We went to our like wedding venue meeting thing with them recently, which was obviously wonderful. But yeah, everything is now coming together, everything is booked. We've paid our final deposits off to them today, and they've been super helpful with us, really patient, and yeah, communication is great. So they are all of the wedding venues that we looked at. We did look at a lot, as you can tell, and I think you can probably tell how we've reached the location that we have. There was always something slightly off, but these are obviously just our opinions. You may fall in love with the Titanic, you may fall in love with Inglewood, you may have the budget for the Hillbark, but we did not, and we did not want to spend that much or put any of our guests out of pocket. We just want to have a day that we can have people to come and join and celebrate with us, and we are so happy with the location we've chosen. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have enjoyed being nosy. Please do subscribe if you have. There will be many the wedding planning videos now that we're married going up on my channel over the next few weeks, and maybe even a wedding video at some point. Maybe subscribe to see it. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed. Subscribe down below to see more, and I will see you soon. Bye guys.